Hi, friends. I thought we might have snack and read a little bit more from Clementine today. So far, Clementine has been so sad because she misses her polka dotty. So she's at the store to pick up her print, her picture of polka. When the clerk brought out the picture of Polka Dotty, my heart hurt so much I couldn't breathe for a minute. She looked so beautiful, that big, and I missed her so much. I quick sucked in some air so I wouldn't faint, and then I said, "Thank you," and took Polka home, being careful not to fold her because she would have hated that. And when I got to my building, I looked up through all the pigeons, and at the very top of the building was old Mrs. Jacoby's apartment. I tucked the big picture of Polka under my arm, took the elevator to the 8th floor, and knocked on Mrs. Jacoby's door. "Can I put this in your window?" I asked. "The one in the middle of your living room," Mrs. Jacoby said. "Why, certainly, dearie," without even asking why, and suddenly she didn't look so old or so boring. And I went to the window and opened it. And when I looked down, I could see the backs of a million cooing pigeons. And they covered every windowsill, every balcony, every ledge, every brick that stuck out even an inch. In between, I could see the sidewalk in front of the building, still wet from my dad's washing. I guess this was what my dad meant about seeing things from a different angle. But I didn't understand how it could help. Mrs. Jacoby came over beside me and shook half a box of Cheerios onto the windowsill. And then the pigeons flapped up in a huge gray cloud, and my brain snapped, "Hey!" And I ran out of Mrs. Jacoby's apartment and all the way down to my own 8 times 12 stairs, which equals 96. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Is it possible that all of those pigeons are there because why? Mrs. Jacoby is feeding them Cheerios? Hmm. Here's the picture. "Dad!" I yelled. "What if the pigeons lived on the side of the building instead of in the front? Would that be okay?" "That would be great," my dad said. "A miracle. Except, of course, first you'd have to convince a million pigeons to move. But if I could, would that solve the problem?" "You wouldn't care if they messed all over the other side of the alley?" "Nope, not a bit. Nobody uses it. That alley could be knee-deep in pigeon splat, and nobody would even notice. Fire away, I say." And then I ran all the way back up the stairs to Mrs. Jacoby's apartment and went right inside, since the door was still open, because that's how fast I was. "I'll run for your Cheerios every week," I told her. "You won't even have to ask me every day if you want. But will you stop feeding the pigeons from here? Will you feed them from a side window instead?" Smart Clementine. I took her into the dining room and I showed her a perfect place. "Let's start today," I said, and I sprinkled the rest of the box of Cheerios. And even though pigeons have teeny tiny brains, they got the message pretty quick because right away a flock of them flapped over. And it was even better for Mrs. Jacoby because it was in her dining room. So now she could see those pigeons eating when she was eating. And then I was all done being there. So I ran back home to tell my dad the good news. He and my mom were in the kitchen starting dinner, so I told them, and I told them, and I told them, and my dad kept saying, "Way to go, sport!" Thank goodness. Now you don't have to spend your life cleaning up after those pigeons. They were so happy, but my parents were sneaky too. Somehow, while I was telling them about Mrs. Jacoby, one of them slipped me a colander of beans and brainwashed me into snapping them. I didn't care though. I really didn't. Seen the wow. There's Clementine snapping peas, telling her mom and dad her exciting story. I must be dreaming. Faces on my parents was even better than it would have been seeing them on the painters. Unfortunately, they didn't have those faces very long. After dinner, my mother said she'd better get back to work. And then she went up to the cupboard and got her special markers, which were still in Margaret's room. You used my, not the permanent. Those are for, what were you? It's a very bad sign when my mother can't finish her sentences. They're at Margaret's, I told her. They're fine, not even chewed on. I'll go get them. Oh, no, said my father. We'll go get them. I think it's time we had a talk. With Margaret's mother, anyway. You'll go sit in your room and think about things. So I went to my room and I thought about things, like Margaret's mother explaining to my parents about the easy one, hard one rule. Here's Clementine thinking about. And here's her mom. What do you think her mom is doing here? Do you think she's trying to wash that marker off her head? I wonder what's going to happen in the next chapter. Thanks for listening.